I'm Natalia Hepworth here in Rexburg at the Handy Home, just making myself comfortable in their breakfast nook. Up until July, Airbnb guests would come and enjoy their breakfast here. But because of an upset in the community, the city discovered the Handys and other hosts like them weren't in the right residential zone to have an Airbnb. So they were asked to shut down. Airbnb is an online service that allows people to book and pay to stay at homes or post their homes as a short-term rental. With this service gaining popularity in East Idaho, some have found it to be quite a nuisance.
It basically is loosening the fabric of the neighborhood. It's dissolving the underpinnings that make us a residential neighborhood.
Complaints arose from the Indian Hills neighborhood after neighbors saw out-of-state cars constantly roaming in and out of the area. Neighbors next door to these Airbnbs also noticed large get-togethers or parties taking place which didn't involve the owners of the home.
And there were people that were renting it out to 20 people at a time. There were Airbnb guests that were standing up on the neighbors' houses.
These disturbances have not only led to opposition of Airbnb, but also questions of how legal the company is in certain areas of Rexburg.
We're getting these short-term rentals coming in, which we're simply not zoned for.
As the topic of Airbnb was brought to the city's attention, officials found certain areas of Rexburg weren't zoned to have Airbnbs. Having an Airbnb in a low-density residential zone violates a city ordinance. City Attorney Steven Zollinger told EastIdahoNews.com, "The law has been in place since before the Airbnb issue arose about a month and a half ago. We have not ever allowed daily rentals in residential zones. Daily rentals have been defined as far back as we can find them as beds and breakfasts or hotels, motels, and boarding houses."
People who are not invested in the neighborhood, they're strangers, they're coming in.
The city sent letters to community members violating the ordinance, asking them to relocate their Airbnb or shut it down. If not, hosts could be prosecuted. In Lucas and Mary Handy's case, they closed their doors.
I did immediately because I didn't want to face any potential law issues or problems or anything like that.
Before being asked to close in July, the Handys said they had an enjoyable time running their Airbnb.
All of them have been super, super positive. We've just had some very good people. There's a specific way to go about it to make sure you do get those good people every single time. And so we just kind of learned our processes and learned the type of people that we wanted in our home. And then we would invite guests into our home accordingly.
The Handys and others are disappointed they've had to close their doors and feel like they should be allowed to stay open.
If there comes a point where we're not good hosts for these Airbnb guests or good neighbors, then that's one thing. They should allow us to live our happy lives.
Well, you can live a happy life if you're living in a high-density residential area where Airbnbs are allowed. If you're in a medium-density residential area, you're going to need a conditional use permit. And finally, if you're in a low-density residential area like the Handys, Airbnbs are a no-go. They're not allowed. For now, city officials are going to treat the Airbnb issue on a case-by-case basis. Reporting from Rexburg, I'm Natalia Hepworth, EastIdahoNews.com.